friends, welcome to the Kabil Guru program. This is the lesson on Microsoft PowerPoint. This is lesson 3.3. We are looking at the insert feature. So previously we have seen all the other features of insert except the charts. So in this video we are going to look at how to insert charts. Now, for example, let's say you have this table in here, fine. In this table, you saw the number of semesters and the marks of one student, right? So let's say these are marks of student A. Fine. Similarly, you can insert some rows here. Let's say you insert some columns to the right here. So you can have marks of students B. Fine. Again, you can have similar numbers here. And then you can have similar numbers in here for student C. Marks for student C. See, even this is possible, right? So the audience has some idea about these particular marks. So there are these three different students, and these three students have got so and so marks in this semester. Now this looks somewhat appealing. Table is a better form of representation rather than in a simple text form. But don't you think that there is a better way of approaching and presenting the data better than a tabular format? Yes, so there exists one particular format which is called the charts. So we can present a lot of data in a much more visually appealing form, and which the users can clearly see. Okay, fine, so this is what the chart tells us. So let's look at how to insert charts. So first of all, under PowerPoint or Microsoft Word or Excel, you have a lot of features for charts, right? Now, what are the most common forms of charts? The most common forms of charts are column, line, pie, bar. Now, see, I'll tell you my experience. In my experience of working as a consultant for the last 5 years, I have not used, in a majority of times, charts beyond these four. Most of the times I've used only column, line, pie and bar. These are the ones that are most commonly used. Apart from these, I did not have the need to go to, let's say, area or scatter or stock or even combo. Combo, yes, maybe sometimes, but if you know how to use these four, column, line, pie and bar, I think you are good to go. Fine. So let's look at each of these charts one by one. So let's look at column. Column, I mean, just imagine, column is just like a pillar of a building. You must have seen constructions, right? Constructions in Mumbai, constructions in your own city. Now you have these columns, which are also called pillars. This is how it looks like, right? These are columns of buildings, right? So this is one column, this is another column, this is another column. So that is why it's called a column chart, fine? So let's look at how to insert these column charts. So basically, when you click on column, you would have these types of charts. Clustered column. Why do we say clustered columns? Because there are these three series, for example, three students, 1, 2 and 3, 1, 2 and 3, 1, 2 and 3, all together are clustered. So that is why it is called a clustered column. I'll show you how you can insert this and how you can change this. Then you have a stacked column. Under a stacked column, what happens is that you will have, in a clustered column, you had three different categories, right? Each showing individually. Whereas under a stacked column, you would have 2 or 3 individual categories, put one on top of the other. This is what is meant by a stacked column. Under a clustered column, what happens is that you have 3 individual categories and you show the individual values of these 3 particular individual categories. Whereas in a stacked column, what happens is that in a stacked column, see this, you have these 3 categories, 1, 2 and 3, the gray, orange and blue. Put one on top of the other, and this gives you an indication out of 100, out of the entire thing, out of the entire column, how much is contributed by gray, how much is contributed by orange and how much is contributed by blue. This is what is meant by stacked column. Okay, I hope everything is clear. So let me repeat this once more. In a clustered column, what happens is that you have three different blocks, three different pillars sitting side by side, and you represent them individually. For example, block A represents something, block B represents something, and you have their values, and you can find out the values of each one. These are separate, but under a stack, what happens is that again you have these three individual things, but these are put on one on top of each other. So this gives you an indication that out of 100, how much is the gray one contributing, how much is the orange one contributing, and how much is the blue one contributing. Fine. So again, these are different forms of representation. I will emphasize this again and again that it depends upon the presenter, the person who is making the presentation, to decide how he wants the audience to visualize the facts and figures and the charts and the points that he wants to put across. It depends upon the presenter. You should always keep this in mind. Fine. So this is it, and then we have 100% stacked column. So the only difference between stacked and 100% stacked is that in stacked you have the absolute figures. For example, out of let's say 10 meters, how much was contributed by this, how much was contributed by this, and how much was contributed by this. Whereas in 100% stacked columns, you have to convert all the figures into percentages first, and then the stacked column can be made. Then we have different things like 3D clustered columns. I mean, 3D. I mean, most of the times we don't use 3D columns unless you have a very specific need, and if you can really make it, you don't use 3D stacked columns or 3D clustered columns for the moment, right? So just focus on the 2D clustered column, and we'll not focus even on the stacked columns right now. Just focus on clustered columns because this is clearly the most important thing. So this is how you can insert it. Just click on that and click on insert, and this is how it will appear. So you can see that this chart has appeared with a chart title, with categories, and you can see in here the blue is series 1, the orange is series 2, and the gray is series 3, right? 1, 2, and 3. I'll tell you what series means, what category means, fine? And so this is the x-axis, and this is the y-axis, right? All of you will remember from the Cartesian coordinate system. Fine. So this is the chart title, and you can have some other features here. For example, you can add any chart elements. For example, if you want, you can add, let's say, a title, axis titles, right? For example, if you click on axis titles here, you can, let's say, have any values. So for example, I want to, let's say, put this as marks or sales, fine. So I can change that, fine. So this is also possible. If you want, you can add a trend line, you can add a, let's say, data table to that, which will come below it. If you want, so you can add a chart table also, you can remove a chart title also. So all these things are possible, fine. And on top of that, you will see an Excel sheet which will have the data corresponding to this figure. So if you change any, particular chart, if you change any data in here, then the figure will change. For example, let's say if you put in 5 here, see, you can clearly see that this has increased, right? So let me just show you again. So let's say this is series 2 in category 2. Let's say we make it 10, right? It has increased. It will increase to 10. See? It has clearly increased to 10. Fine. So this is how you can make changes, and so let's just look at the what is meant by category and how we can position our data. Now let's say that let's remove the data table for now because we don't want any figures in here. So let's say that category on x-axis. Category could be pen. Category could be anything here. Any category. It could be any category. For example, you have pens. You have pencils. You have, let's say, erasers, right? So all the different categories, right? And within pencils, let's say series 1, it could be anything. Series 1 could be, let's say, Maharashtra. What is the sale of pencils in Maharashtra? What is the sale of pencils in, let's say, Gujarat? what is the sale of pencils in Madhya Pradesh, right? So even this is possible, right? So you have three states, and you want to see what is the sale of pencils, pens, erasers, and let's say another category which is sharpeners. Fine. So see again, this is upon you. This is upon you how to interpret the series and categories. So let's say, or you could also have alternate things. For example, you could have Maharashtra, you could have Gujarat, you could have MP, you could have Rajasthan, and you could have pens, you could have pencils, and you could have erasers. Fine. So it changes, right? It changes according to you. So according to this chart right now, what is the sale of pen, pencil, and eraser in the state of Maharashtra? This is what is represented here. What is the sale of pen, pencils, and erasers in the state of Gujarat is shown here. Fine. What is the state of pen, pencils in Madhya Pradesh? This is what is shown here. Now, if we remove this and we say what is the sale of pen, pencils in 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, again, this also makes sense, right? Makes complete sense. In which year, what has been the sale of pen, pencil, and eraser? Fine. So you can change the categories according to your own need. For example, it depends upon you. What kind of data are you representing? Now the point to note is that this is a design template. This is a pre-designed template by Microsoft PowerPoint, but you can make n number of changes to it. You can add the categories. Fine, you can see this is a new category that is added. You can also add the series. For example, if you want, you can add sharpeners as well. That is also possible. We saw another category which is represented by this, let's say, yellow line. It has also appeared. So you can change. But the thing to remember here is that the audience should not be confused. If you have too many categories, if you have too many series or products in just one chart, it would look again hazy. The purpose of a chart is to make the audience completely understand by just looking at that chart. Okay, what is the thing? What is happening exactly? What figures does the presenter want us to understand? So you should be very careful in choosing how many product categories do you want to, let's say, choose and select in one chart, and how many what information do you want to give in one chart. So you have to be very careful regarding that. Fine. Now I hope that this is clear. Fine. Okay. So having said that, so you can make n number of changes onto this slide. Now you can close this chart by just clicking on close here. Once this is done, now how can you get the Excel sheet again? Just click on right and you have edit data. Click on the box of the chart and you have edit data. On edit data, you can have, just click on edit data. Don't click on anything else. Just click on edit data. And you can modify any changes. For example, you have 6, you have 8, 7, 8. You can make whatever changes you feel like, right? Just close this. And see, for example, let's say you want to make, you don't like the color. You have to double click on this box and two things will appear. The first thing is this. You will have two more tabs, which is design and format, and you will have a format chart area. You can select individual columns and you can change the colors, right? You can change the colors. So for example, if you want, you can change the colors individually. It depends upon you. You have to try this out. You can make it transparent. If you want, you can make it transparent as well. Fine. It depends upon you. However, if you don't want to change it, let's say manually, if you don't want to do for each and everything, what you can do is you can just select from any of the designs. For example, you can have something like this, which looks fantastic. You can have something like this. Just need to click on that. For example, let's select this. This looks very good for me. So you can just select on this, or you select this. This also looks very fantastic. So the thing is that you don't need to change the color manually of, let's say, first of all, you need to change the color of the chart and then you need to change the color of the individual blocks. Don't need to do that. Just select any template and you can also in fact change colors if you want. Again, this is possible. You want, you can change the colors like this. It depends upon you. What type of colors do you want? This looks fantastic, right? Again, this looks very nice. It depends upon you. Whatever colors do you want, you can put those colors. Fine. So this is the thing on charts. Now there is another thing which I wanted to show you, which is a trend line. When you click on trend line, let's say you want to have a general sense of direction about how the market for pencils has moved. So if you clearly see in here, which is the pencils here, pencils is the blue line, right? For pencils, this is the trend line here. In general, the market for pencils. So this is the pens. This is the pen category, right? So in general, the market for pens has improved. See, it is 4.3, then it has slightly come down to 2.5, then it has increased to 3.5, then it has increased to 4.5. So if you take an average of all these 4 years, in general, the general direction in which the market is moving is upwards. This is what is meant by this. So this is a line which will give you an indication of how the pen market is. You can have a trend line for, let's say, pencils as well if you want, right? For pencils it has come down. See, for pencils, which is pencils, blue line is here, then it has come down, then it has come down, then it has come down. So in general it has come down, right? In general it has come down. So this is another thing. So this is not that important, but I just wanted to inform this to you that there's something called as trend line, which you can use to just give a general direction about how the market is performing, or the general direction in which the figures are moving, right? So this is all about the column charts, right? So this is all that you need to know at the moment. Now, for example, let's look at line charts. Now, under line charts, you can represent values using lines only. You don't have columns. It is only beautiful lines. Let's look at this. Let's look at how it appears. So, for example, again the same thing. Let's say this is pens, this is pencils, this is sharpeners, this is erasers, right? And let's say this is 2014, 2015, 2016. So if you want something like this, for example, pens have, okay, for pens clearly you can see, no, this is the wrong thing. So this has to be the opposite, 2014, 2015. That's why I said you need to be absolutely clear about how do you want to portray things, right? Pens, pencils, sharpeners. Fine. Now this is perfect. Now you know clearly that pens in 2014 was here, in 2015 it dropped, and it increased in 2016, and again it increased further in 2017. For pencils, it was here in 2014, it increased sharply, then it decreased sharply, then it increased. So this is the indication. Again, the rules are the same for line charts as well. You can increase any number of lines, you can decrease any number of lines, you can select any number of pre-designed templates that you want. It depends upon you. Fine. So again, it is the same thing. The only thing is how do you want to represent your particular figures? That is much more important, right? This is the line charts. Let's look at the other thing, which is pie chart. Pie chart, okay, pie chart is something which is really interesting. Now let's say that there are, so first of all, there are, let's say, 4 quarters in a year. Okay, 12 months divided into 4 quarters, means 3 months each. And so this is the sales figure. So a pie chart will give you information about how much each portion is contributing to the whole circle, right? So for example, this is the first quarter. This is the first quarter. See, if you hover it around here, this is the sales point, first quarter. The first quarter value is 8.2, and the percentage of the percentage to the overall figure is 59%. right? So it has contributed 59% to the overall sales. The second quarter has contributed 23%. Third quarter has contributed how much? 10%. The last quarter, which is the fourth quarter, has contributed 9%. Now you can clearly see that we have not included any percentage terms in here. We can obviously do that. We can include percentage terms. For example, we can, let's say, have 8.2 divided by the total figure, let's say 20. So we can have all these percentages in here, fine. But we have not done that, right? But even then the pie chart has calculated the percentages. This is what pie chart does. Pie chart calculates how much one particular section is responsible for the other sections. This is what pie chart is involved in. And so again, the rules are the same for pie chart as well. For pie charts, you can select n number of designs, n number of designs, n number of colors. All that is possible. So this is all about pie charts. See, the thing is that you need to be able to insert a pie chart and just play around with it. I've just included some of the basic things, and the PowerPoint is such a simple tool. Most of the things are very, very common for all of these things. How to modify, how to, let's say, change the format, how to change the font size, how to change the font color. Things are very, very common for all these things. So you should always go back and listen to what I've said earlier. And so again, this would look very, very clear to you. Let's quickly look at bar charts. Bar charts is nothing but the flip side of column charts. So columns, let's just imagine that columns have been rotated 90 degrees. This is how a bar chart would look like. Bar charts are also a different form of representation. So let's just look at this. Let's quickly insert a bar chart. So this is how a bar chart looks like. So just instead of upright columns, instead of perpendicular columns, instead of 90 degree columns, you have these columns which are 90 degree to the clustered columns. So again, you have the same things that you can portray. You can change the categories, you can change the series, you can change the numbers, and you can double click on that, and you can have as many templates that you want. So again, this is fantastic. It also depends upon what do you want to portray. Fine. So this is all that we have for charts. For other things, you don't need all these other information because I clearly believe that once you have the information about these four, you can easily work your way around for Microsoft PowerPoint. So thank you for listening to this video. Next video we'll look at design, transitions, and some of the other features. So thank you so much for listening to this, and look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you so much.